Beautiful spring day in Thunder Valley at the half-mile Bristol Motor Speedway. It's time for the NASCAR Nationwide Series teams to get on this half-mile high-banked racetrack. 62 degrees, no wind to speak of, not a cloud in the sky. And hi everybody, Steve Burns, Hermie Sadler, and Jeff Hammond. Now, we've got about an hour and 25 minute practice for the NASCAR Nationwide Series teams. And Hermie, we just saw the Cup guys practice, and some of our past champions had a little bit of a problem out here.
Yeah, we talked about Goodyear bringing a new kind of a generation compound here to Bristol Motor Speedway. And when that first Cup practice got on the racetrack, a lot of the drivers and teams we normally see right at the top of the speed chart right away were struggling getting their car to turn in the center. And once they got it to turn in the center, it made it too free on entry and too free on exit. We saw a couple guys spin out too. So Jeff Hammond, track time today is going to be a premium.
It really is. And you mentioned the fact that some of the guys have already been on the racetrack, Hermie. Guys like Carl Edwards, I think it's definitely going to give them an advantage. Brad Keselowski, they'll be able to come over here, run a couple of laps in these nationwide cars, and make the appropriate changes. They've really kind of gone through I think the learning curve. It should be a big advantage for them. So I really look for the veterans to kind of like rise to the top, be up there most of the day. And once they get their cars kind of comfortable, I think we'll see them make some long runs so they can kind of get the feel of what they're going to need with this newly redesigned track. We haven't got into the fact that they did narrow the front end of this racetrack as far as the safety barriers on the exit of the corner. It's going to give these guys a fit. I look for some of the guys who haven't been on the track to maybe have the same problem that the veterans did earlier, spin out. Can you believe it, Waltrip and Mike Joy calling us pros?
How about that?
Huh?
As a matter of fact, Jimmy Johnson spun out coming off turn 4. Bobby Labonte backed it into the wall. Let's go now. You hear cars on the racetrack. Let's check in with Wendy Venturini.
Well, good afternoon, gentlemen. And nationwide practice is well underway. The Cup guys have just finished up. Guys like Carl Edwards, who are double duty, of course, this weekend, getting into the nationwide car. Keep in mind, he is on probation on that Cup side. What does this mean on the nationwide side? Well, everything's still on plan for Carl Edwards. His goal is to just get some laps. His crew chief, who just came on board one race ago, Drew Glickensturfer, Carl Edwards, and Drew, both confident coming into Bristol. Keep in mind, he won here in 2007. Bob?
Well, Wendy, Danica Mania is still alive here in Bristol. Well, sort of. Her car is here in the form of the Junior Motorsports number 7, but of course she is not here. Scott Wimmer, who has 3 top 10 finishes in the Nationwide Series, is here running for Junior Motorsports. So far, it's a 2-race stint for Scott Wimmer. He'll also run at Nashville. But I spoke to crew chief Tony Uri Jr., and he told me he has been talking to Danica Patrick since she left to Brazil for the Indy Racing Series. She is looking forward to getting back behind the wheel of the 7 in June at Loudon, but she will be keeping a close eye on this race here in Bristol.
All right, thank you very much, Bob Dillner and Wendy Venturini. Wendy mentioned Carl Edwards. He is the points leader after 3 events.
Taking a look right there at Scott Wimmer in that 7 car. I think this was an excellent choice, guys, especially here and the following week at Nashville. He's run well, won at Nashville, so you got to believe this here is a very logical choice. Get him kind of tuned up. Should produce some good results, I think, for the 17.
Yeah, Scott Wimmer's a really good short track racer, and to be a good short track racer, it's not just being able to get around the short tracks, it's being able to tell your crew chief and your team what you need, not only now, but also later on in the course of a run and later on in the race here at Bristol. And Scott's got that kind of experience.
And Hermie, let me ask you something real quick. Bristol's concrete, Nashville's concrete, Dover's concrete, and we all know that for some reason it looked like for a while Scott Wimmer was very good on concrete racetracks. I think, Jason Keller's been really good on concrete racetracks. What is it about a concrete racetrack? I mean, again, when you, as a driver, mentally, how much of a different feel? Does it just affect you mentally? I mean, you see a white racetrack compared to black? I mean, what is it?
I think a lot of it has to do with just simply confidence. When you go to a racetrack that you like, you know you're going to run good, you have a tendency to do that. And the other thing is, as I just said, you have to predict. This racetrack right now does not have a lot of rubber buildup on it. You cannot tune your car to the racetrack right now. You've got to have enough experience to say, this is what my car's doing right now. But I know by the time we get to lap 100 on Saturday, this is what the track will be like. You got to be able to anticipate a little bit.
19-year-old Trevor Bayne is the quickest early in. He's followed by Steve Wallace and Scott Wimmer in that 7 car.
Right.
His teammate Kelly Byers is 4th. Now, talking about driver comfort, driver preference, we had Kelly Byers as we watched Carl Edwards on Race Hub the other day, and Kelly said what he likes about the concrete tracks is that they don't change much.
Consistency.
Consistency.
Yeah, and it's really good to test. We have a lot of guys that, you know, in years past have done some testing at Nashville and some other places. It's a good place to go learn when you can, because like you say, the track doesn't change a whole lot from, say, 9 o'clock in the morning to 1 o'clock in the afternoon, whereas an asphalt racetrack, say Charlotte Motor Speedway coming up, a test there next week for the Sprint Cup cars, that track will change all day long.
Brendan Gaughan, a teammate to Steve Wallace, right now Gaughan in his Toyota 12th overall.
Just don't forget, he sat on the pole here with this race car, and that's been redone, you know, hopefully made better since he was here a year ago. But Brendan talked to him earlier this morning. A lot of confidence coming here, coming back to this racetrack. He said, never thought I could get around this place as good as I did a year ago. Might surprise you. He may wind up putting the thing back on the pole one more time. And oh, by the way, I've got a story on Brendan Gaughan we need to get into a little bit later on.
Really?
I'm going to kind of tease it a little bit. It's very funny where his family, his mama and dad in particular, were a little bit concerned with him during his off weekend.
Just saw Michael Annette in the 15 car, headed to the garage. He is 7th quick. Paul Menard in the 98. Read comments from Jack Roush this week. Jeff Hermy, Jack Roush said Paul Menard is very close to clicking off a win in the Nationwide Series. He already has one, close to doing it again.
I think so. I mean, again, this team just seems to get better and better every week. The more time he gets behind the wheel of this number 98 Nationwide car, the more competitive he gets. He's currently 9th in the points, and you've already talked about it. He does have a win in the series, but all of a sudden it looks like to me he's one of the regulars. Every week when they unload his car, he's quick, and during the race, you know, you find him up there competing in the top 5. And Hermes, you know, as a driver, if you can get a guy up in the top 5, you've got him in position to win.
Yeah, top 10 points right now in Sprint Cup. One of the you know, great stories starting off 2010 that had to be unexpected.
Let's go back to the garage. Bob Dillner has an update on Brendan Gaughan.
Well, speaking of series regulars, last 5 series regulars have won the pole position for these races here at Bristol for the Nationwide Series. The last one, last time we were here in the springtime, Brendan Gaughan, I got a chance to joke around with him just before he got in the car. I said, you ready for another pole run tomorrow here at Bristol? He said, you know what? I would trade all the poles in the world for a win here at Bristol. He says, you know what? This is a track that I really adore. He loves this place, and he's looking for a good run. Right now, he's got the same setup that he had on the car last year, but it's not to his liking so far for Brendan Gaughan, 15th quick.
I don't find that very surprising at all, guys. I mean, we've been talking about this new tire combination, the fact they narrowed their exit of these corners up a little bit. You're going to have to attack this racetrack a little bit different. I'm not one bit surprised to see a lot of changes being made.
7 minutes into practice, Justin Allgaier now the quickest. Speed's presentation of NASCAR Nationwide Practice for Bristol is brought to you by Cheerios, 100% natural whole grain oats and only 1 gram of sugar. And by the Sponsifier. Visit ToyotaRacing.com and click on Design It, Enter It. Back at the Bristol Motor Speedway, we had a short caution for Scott Riggs in the 09. Let's see what happens to Riggs.
Hermie, I think you were talking about this, you know, the way this combination is. He looked like he was picking that throttle up, and the car wasn't up underneath him, and around he came.
You can see it right here again, coming off of turn 2. There's Scott Riggs right there coming off, gets in the throttle. We talked about cars being a little bit too tight in the center and then getting loose on exit. Let's watch him. You know something else? This is the 4th spin I think we've seen, Steve.
Yep.
And I don't remember a time that I've seen 4 spins at Bristol in a day's time, and only 1 car I think made contact. I mean, a lot of guys are usually hit the outside and the inside.
And the other point about that, Hermie, is that you're talking about Jimmy Johnson, Bobby Labonte, Kyle Busch, Scott Riggs, who has a lot of starts in this series and the Sprint Cup series. We're not talking about rookies.
Oh yeah, not at all. And when you look at the speed chart here for this practice session coming up, you see Bobby Labonte, he ended up bagging the car, you know, into the fence when he spun, went to a bag up. But you see some familiar names, but a lot of names that we would expect to see up front right away are not there yet. I mean, so this tire combination is really throwing some of these guys a curveball. How many times this year have we opened up practice and Kyle Busch been 9th on the speed chart? Normally he's 2nd, 3rd, you know, top of the speed chart, right in line.
Right now, there's the man who is the fastest cat in the house here, and that's Mr. Casey Kane. And don't misunderstand this. You see the 38 car normally being driven by Jason Leffler. This weekend, Casey Kane is in the 38, and you'll find Jason Leffler in the 10 car.
Let's go back to Wendy.
Well, young Colin Brown is in his race car on this back stretch at Bristol. I can just imagine looking into his eyes what he's going through in his mind right now. Keep in mind, this is the first time he's been in a nationwide car at this racetrack. So as a rookie, he has a lot to learn at these tracks. You know Bristol is a tough cookie when you come here, but right now he feels pretty competitive. As he told his crew chief, Eddie Perdue, he feels okay in the center is what's causing him the problem. Bob?
Well, the problem for Paul Menard is that his number 98 is hitting the racetrack in the corners. Right now they are up under the left front on this car, and they're actually doing a little mechanical work to get that sway bar arm up from the racetrack so it doesn't hit. They're actually chopping off the bottom of that sway bar arm right now. He's 23rd quick on the charts, and Paul Menard has been very impressive in the Nationwide Series so far this year. In 3 races, he's got 2 top 10s, and he's 9th in points. Not too shabby, guys.
Thank you, Bob. And, you know, Hermie, you mentioned it. Guys having trouble in the center at either end.
Well, and that's the thing here. You cannot be, you know, soft on the throttle here at Bristol, especially in a nationwide car. When you get through the middle of the corner, to be fast, you've got to have the accelerator on the floorboard. And you put too much wheel in the center of the corner, mash the gas at the same time. If your car's not exactly right, the thing will slip around on you coming off the corner. That's what we've seen a couple times today.
Hermie, is this a situation where you're just going to get off the gas gently? Do you even use the brake here? Do you control it all with the...
Oh, yeah. I mean, you would use a little bit of brake here, especially with these cars. You know, don't have a lot of gear in them anymore to slow them down getting into the corner. So you'll get off the throttle. Another spin, the 20 car coming off turn 2, Steve.
Yep. Joey Logano brings out the second caution.
All right, good save, man. We'll make a big swing this time. Sorry about that. Flat on the last lap.
13 minutes into this practice. Take another look at Joey, who was 6th quickest.
Once again, right in the middle of that corner.
Just like the 09, same spot.
He wants to basically stab that deal, or really say stab it. He really wants to get back into it because these cars are a lot about momentum to begin with. You can see he's already sideways as he comes out at the late exit of the corner. So that car stepped out on him as soon as he picked the throttle up.
But getting back to your point about whether or not to use the brake, with these cars, you don't have a lot of gear in the back of the car, say, to slow it down when you get in the corner. So you get off the gas and you tap the brake a little bit to set the car, but you want to be back in that throttle before you get to the middle of the corner to run a fast lap here.
Wendy.
Well, before that caution, Joey Logano told his crew chief Kevin Kidd between a 1 and a 5, the loose factor was a 3.5. He said he tried to carry more speed, and he looped it, according to Joey. He's back in to make some adjustments to make that car a little bit tighter.
Well, you heard the crew chief, you know, talking about the fact that we're going to make a big swing at it. He said, I'm sorry, undoubtedly they've been kind of sneaking up on it, and it's going to need a big deal here.
Under caution, we'll be back to the Bristol Motor Speedway here on Speed. Just back under green, Joey Logano had a spin on the back stretch, no harm done. Take a look at our Sponsifier Toyota track description of this challenging Bristol Motor Speedway. You know, Herbie, Jeff, the number that jumps out at me, 650. That's all they have in terms of feet on the front stretch and the back stretch.
Hermie, I made the attempt one time to come up here and run us some practice laps in a race car.
I like to have seen that.
Yeah, it was. It was very interesting. I didn't hit anything, though. But you see right now, the 92 car, he was way high off of turn 2. But it feels like almost like you get out of the corner, and as soon as you start to pick the throttle wide open, it's like, oh, me, here comes the corner.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like you on the gas, off the gas. I've never experienced a racetrack that seemed like had such short straightaways.
And I tell you, a lot of people don't realize 26 to 30 degrees of banking. This place is banked as much or more as Talladega.
Kelly Byers.
So guys all over the racetrack. But mentally and physically, the combination of the two is more demanding here at Bristol than anywhere on the circuit. No question, between things happening so fast and the sensation of speed here is so great because the track is narrow and it's so short. You feel like you're really running faster than you are.
Well, Hermie, you raced here a bunch. Darrell Waltrip won here 11 times. He talked about the fact that you actually lose perspective on where you even are on the racetrack.
Yeah, you get in a long green flag run and you rely heavily on your spotter and your crew chief to let you know where you're at and what's going on, because between fighting traffic and fighting your race car, it can be a handful. And when this race is over, when you run 500 miles here, you're ready to take a nap. I mean, it takes a lot out of you.
Taking a look, we just saw the spotters atop the racetrack. The number 23 car driven by a third-generation driver, Coleman Presley, the son of Robert Presley, who there's Coleman. Robert raced in all 3 of NASCAR's premier touring series. And, of course, Robert's father, Bob, was a heck of a short-track racer in the Southeast.
Yes, he was. And he was a little bit like thinking about going back to the Atlanta situation. He'd have been right up in the middle of all that. He was very much a tough race car driver. Hang on, we got a car out of control, the 21 car.
And he made contact.
Made contact with the outside wall.
John West Townley, 18.5 minutes into practice, our 3rd caution.
And Hermie, it looked like when I first called it, he was a little bit high, and when the car got away from it, unlike everybody else, instead of picking the throttle back up, he got on the brakes, and he just literally slid him up to the outside safer bearing.
Yeah, I'm anxious to see if we get a replay here. Once he gets sideways, if he actually gets any work at all out of the rear tires, if he does get an accelerator at all, if he just hits the brake, you're going to bag yourself right into the fence. We'll see how he did that, but just strange to see all these guys spinning in practice.
Take another look at from high above the Bristol Motor Speedway.
Top of your screen right there, you'll see the yellow car.
He just out of the groove.
Yeah.
He got in there maybe a little bit too hot, slid up out of the groove and got away from him, and he didn't have time to get in the throttle to keep the back of the car off the gas, off the wall. He was in trouble before we got to that point.
And you may mention keeping something off the wall. If you'll look around the top edge of the racetrack, I'm starting to see a lot of rubber buildup. And I'm just wondering, again, when he got a little bit up out of the groove, there must be a lot of loose debris. There it is. You can see this is coming off of these tires as they wear. You're starting to put down a groove, but that stuff has got to go somewhere, and it's going to the top of the racetrack. And before it gets there, he's still got a lot of fine rubber and kind of like that middle groove. So if you get too very high, you can get yourself in trouble.
That's the reason why if you're coming to the race Sunday, if you don't have your tickets yet, you want to come ahead and get them, because those of you who sit in the bottom 7 or 8 rows during the race, when the blower comes out about halfway to blow the racetrack, that's what you're going to end up getting in
all
your
over
lap.
you.
Yeah. Which that's the full experience of being at the racetrack, but that debris built up on the racetrack. We all seen a little bit of groove around the bottom of the racetrack, though, so I think over the course of the weekend, the conditions will get better, but we are knocking a lot of rubber off these tires.
Well, while we're under caution,
you can see here, this is what Hermie's talking about. This is that black groove is starting to develop all the way around the racetrack. You want to see where the drivers are running? Just look where the black groove is.
And that'll get a lot better once we put, in race trim, guys, and tomorrow morning these cup cars get up there and you got 43 cars running race runs. That'll really start to bring this track around.
And while we're under caution, we'll go back to the garage and Bob Dillner.
And Steve Burns, pretty interesting when you're down here on pit road, when something happens on the racetrack, guys like Justin Allgaier, they run up to our television monitor and go, hey, I want to see what happened. We were talking about what happened with both of those spins there. It's pretty tricky in the corners here. Tell me about it.
Yeah, it really is. When you get out there, and especially with cup practice being the way that it was, there's a lot of crumbs, I guess, if you will, a lot of excess rubber out there on the outside. And if you miss the corner by 6-8 inches, you're going to get in that. And I think that's why you're seeing guys wreck on entry and on exit, because the cup cars seemed like they were able to stay a little bit tighter. Nationwide car, you're trying to carry more corner speed, and unfortunately you just get in those crumbs and around it goes.
Allgaier, 4th quick so far. Wendy?
John West Townley, still in his race car, has pulled it into the Nationwide garage area in the infield. The backup car is coming out. Crew Chief Dan Daringhoff has assessed the primary car. It had enough damage on the rear end to go ahead and move that backup car, take it out, so the crew is working feverishly to get John West Townley back out on the racetrack.
All right, thank you, Wendy. So 3 cautions for spins involving Scott Riggs, Joey Logano, and John West Townley. Townley, the only one to make contact with the wall. Be right back to Bristol. Tonight in Bristol, the ultimate Friday night house party is going to get a little rowdy as Kyle Busch and the Silver Fox, David Pearson, stop by NASCAR trackside, 7 Eastern, only on Speed. How's that for a show, Hammond?
They won't need us.
No. Take a look at the other programming here. Sprint Cup qualifying coming up, followed by Nationwide final practice. NASCAR live in the aforementioned trackside. Danny O'Quinn in the 90 is quickest just moments ago. top of the screen.
Good save.
That Mike Wallace right there.
Yep.
Johnny Davis's 0-1 entry.
So a near miss for Mike Wallace.
Steve and Hermie, just watching from up here and looking at what's going on out there on that racetrack, I get this feeling that almost like we're at the old Bristol when it was real rough and kind of washboardy, because these cars are kind of losing the front sometimes, kicking the back end out a little bit. If you get out of the groove the least a little bit, you're going to get yourself in trouble.
The most recent caution came out for a spin involving John West Townley. Wendy is with him.
Thanks, Steve. Yeah, John, you're out in the race car. The backup is coming out. What exactly happened in that practice lap?
Well, we just got real free. The car really didn't really feel that free to me. I mean, I guess maybe I got in a little bit higher that lap, but I mean, we had seen this same stuff happen in a cup practice earlier today. A lot of guys are free. To me, my car, I mean, it just didn't really seem like it was, but I mean, I guess it is what it is, and here in this place, and we're just going to go out there and try to make the best out of it. I mean, I'm sorry, I hate it. That was a great car we had, but I'm pretty sure. I mean, this was just as good. So.
All right, good luck this weekend. It's John's third visit for Bristol Motor Speedway.
And that's usually what happens, Steve, and Jeff, after you crash at Bristol, a lot of times you don't know what happened. And stuff happens so fast here when you got a racetrack that you've got a little more time to absorb stuff. You can say, well, I did this, or I missed the groove, or this happened. But things happen so fast at Bristol, you're around into the wall and don't really have any real clue what happened because it happened so fast.
Especially when you run around in a circle in 16 seconds and covering a half a mile.
Reed Sorensen in the 32 car, making his first NASCAR Nationwide Series start of 2010.
I'll tell you something today, more so in the Cup side, but also in the Nationwide Series side, a lot of these cars are set up, these cars are coil bound, some of them are, and the setup springs and shocks. They're set up on simulators. They run these things through simulation. They tell you, you should do this, you should run this size sway bar, this size spring, whatever. But that doesn't tell you how your car is going to react once it gets on the racetrack with these tires, and I think a lot of guys are catching up to that.
Brad Keselowski in the 22 is second quick to Danny O'Quinn. Let's go back to Bob Dillner.
Well, Steve Wallace, is sixth on the board right now, but he's not exactly happy with the balance of his race car. It was really loose just a run or two ago, so they made some changes to the truck arms. They also went down on the track bar and changed some things on the bump stops. He went out there and he said, you know what? Now it's not cutting at all. His 66 machine is trying to get through the corner, but it's a little tight in the center. So what they're doing is they're making a change of an eighth of an inch of camber shim on the right front and going to zero Ackerman as well to try to help him cut through the center of the corner just a little bit. And just a second ago, that man right there, Rusty Wallace, was leaning into the window. And we all know how good Rusty is here at Bristol. He was giving his son, Steven, some advice on how to get this car hooked up at this high-banked half mile.
Jeff, I was telling Hermie before he came on the air, the first guy I saw this morning was Wes Ward, former crew chief, and he works with Rusty Wallace. Hermie's personal hero.
I mean, Wes,
just ask Wes, he'll tell you.
Wes normally works in the shop there getting the cars prepared for both Brendan Gaughan and Stephen Wallace. So
I tell you, Rusty, and y'all raced against him a lot back in the day too, Jeff.
Oh, yeah.
He was always really good about keeping his car hooked right around the bottom. And another car spun off S92. He was out of shape earlier.
Johnny Chapman.
Off turn 2.
Johnny Chapman's made some pretty severe contact with the wall. Yeah, we did see him get loose about 10 minutes ago and didn't hit anything. This time he does.
His damage is not good, but I think that they can make repairs to this number 92 car.
It's a lot like John West Townley's spin.
It's almost like they carry too much speed in, and as soon as they slide up out of the groove, around the car comes.
Fourth caution in this NASCAR Nationwide Series practice. Johnny Chapman into the wall. Stay with us here on Speed. We're at the Bristol Motor Speedway. Just back underway after a caution brought out by Johnny Chapman. So one-car slide into the turn 2 safer barrier. On board with Carl now. Just a moment ago, he was down on the pit lane to the attention of his team. Let's listen to what he said.
I mean, right now the balance is turning off the wall. It's about a 2 or a 3 loose. Once it gets in and sets down and it's on the front suspension, it's okay. Anytime it comes off of it, it's too loose. So in the middle of the corner, it seems like it comes up a little bit, a little bit. If I go a little slow, it comes up. Pitches are in, too loose. Coming off the corner when the nose comes up, it's a little too loose.
So how do we fix that, boys?
Well, it sounds like to me he wants it to stay down, coil bound on the suspension longer, because we're saying when it comes back off of being coil bound or playing it to the racetrack, that's when it gets too loose. So they're going to work on the front end of that car to get it to stay down, maybe coil bound a little bit longer, to not give that steep transition coming off these corners.
Hermie, I'm sitting there watching his hands and then listening to what he's saying. It's almost like it needs maybe a little bit more rebound in the left front and maybe a little bit stronger compression in the right rear if it's kind of heeling over, as long as it doesn't mess him up too much on his forward bite.
Yeah, that more compression in the right rear shock will actually keep the car down on the left front a little bit longer, like we're talking about. And it just sounds like that transition from being on the spring to off the spring is really where he's fighting that race car. But a great description. That's cool to listen to the actual driver on the racetrack telling his crew chief, and that's what's important when you're fighting with a new combination tire. That communication between driver and crew chief, and what that crew chief does with it, is very important.
And as Jeff mentioned at the top of the broadcast, Carl, one of the guys doing double duty here at the Bristol Motor Speedway. Danny O'Quinn in the 90 is quickest. Greg Biffle in the 27, another driver doing double duty right now, 8th quickest in his Ford.
Steve, what I'm looking at also, and I don't want to make sure we overlook, is that Danny O'Quinn, he's looking to qualify for the race. He's only run 5 laps in his practice session. His fastest lap was his 3rd lap. The rest of these guys in behind him, Casey Kane, Brad Keselowski, Kyle Busch, Jason Allgaier, all of them have run multiple laps, up to 20 laps, 15, 18, and 12. They're focused on kind of getting these cars ready to race. Not so much worried right now about qualifying.
And Johnny Chapman was 11th quick until he hit the wall, as Jeff mentioned. Also one of the drivers who has to qualify his way in. Bob, what's the update on the 92?
Well, Johnny Chapman is trying to straighten out the front fender on this machine, but there is a lot of body damage to his race car. I asked him, I said, hey, what happened? He said, I just lost it. He said, it's such a fine line, but there are so many different things here that are really of a concern for this team, including the crush panels over here and the dents in the rear corner. You look back here and everything is pretty darn wrecked up on the left side of this race car. So they will try to smooth these things over so they fit all the templates and so forth. But Johnny Chapman is like an old school racer right now. He's got the hammer in hand and he's pounding away on his number 92, Wendy.
Casey Kane in the Nationwide Garage this weekend has a win here in the Nationwide Garage at Bristol Motor Speedway. Now Casey is a little bit loose, just like everyone else. He told his crew chief, Stuart Cooper, that he just can't understand why everyone's spinning. Stuart's response to that, he said everyone's just getting out of the groove. He sees the dust flying around and it causing everybody to spin out there. Right now, Casey Kane is comfortable with his race car, but here's the interesting part. His crew chief is coming over here from the Cup Garage. I know the cars don't relate, but sometimes the notes, they can help a driver.
Andy Ponstein in the 02. Take a look at what travail Andy just went through.
Excuse me? He made contact with the
52.
With getting in the corner, misjudged. That car was slowing down in front of him, and he made some contact.
Chris Lawson and Jimmy Means' number 52 car.
Looked like it caused a tire rub.
Yeah, just a little bit. Got that left front corner in, touching the tire. Nothing really, I think, serious that much about it. Couldn't fix.
Yeah, watch this again. He's going in turn 1. The 52 car slowing down the bottom of the racetrack, and you can see it right there. Makes contact, just misjudged it. And that's a lot of that, Jeff, has got to do with the fact that he's seen everybody that's been the top side of the racetrack has gotten himself in trouble. So he's scared to get way up the racetrack and cause him some problems.
There you see the damage to the left front of that 02 car. Andy Ponstein gets out of his race car.
Now, one thing I will say about fender damage like that, as well as the one to Johnny Chapman's car, if you're going to have damage, this is a good place to have damage, because really aerodynamics really don't come that big a play here. It's more about the handling than it is the aerodynamics. So here in Martinsville, you're going to wrinkle up a fender a little bit and beat it back out with the fender. You can get by with the problems better than any other places you go.
But you got to have better communication with your spotter. Number one, I think the 52 car, if he's slowing down, he should have been off the racetrack on the apron. But if you're Andy Ponstein, you've got to have a little bit better communication with your spotter. You say 52, slow on the bottom in turn 1. But we talked about earlier, things happen so fast here at Bristol. You come up on that car before you know it. So unfortunate situation for the
I'm getting ready to say, don't blame the spotter. You better blame that driver too.
Y'all got to fight.
Yep.
Nope. Jeff thinks he's always right, and we'll leave it at that.
I just feel like he's got that steering wheel. He should have turned it a little bit quicker.
We just saw Kyle Busch. He is 4th quickest. Hey, Speed Fanatics, purchase a Speed Grub and Rub at Martinsville Ticket Package and receive a reserved front stretch ticket to both Saturday and Sunday races, plus an all-you-can-eat trackside breakfast on Saturday with select NASCAR drivers and Speed on-air personalities for $99. Visit speedtv.com, keyword promo for more information, or call 877-RACE-TICKS. There is a Bristol Grub and Rub right there in the garage.
That's exactly right. Big John doing a little cooking for Stuart Haas Racing.
I'm anxious to get back on the racetrack next week. I'm running the truck race at Martinsville, one of my favorite places, so look forward to that.
A little grub and rub there.
Quick question, Hermie, a little pop quiz as we look at Morgan Shepherd. Kevin Harvick is the all-time wins leader here with 5 wins. Who's second in the Nationwide Series?
Morgan Shepherd.
Aha, very good, Jeff Hammond.
He's got 3.
4.
4?
4 wins for Morgan Shepherd.
That deadgum slob sent me some more bad information.
You made him drop all his papers over here. He'd have had a nervous breakdown over here, man.
Slob, I'm just kidding. He's got 3 poles here.
That's correct. 4 wins for Morgan Shepherd, most recently April of 1987. Bob Dillner?
We are down by Danny O'Quinn in the 90 machine. He's atop the speed chart right now and a very happy camper. He's a Virginia boy, but he lived very close to here. In fact, Lonesome Pine Speedway is just about 40 miles from here. He is a former winner in the Pro Cup Series there. Right now, he is forced to go in qualifying trim because he is one of the guys that has to qualify their way in. Right now, Danny O'Quinn is just loving life, being that he's fastest. He says the car doesn't cut in the middle of the corner quite like he wants, but they're working on that right now. They're about to go out for another qualifying type run.
Bob, the 43 car driven by Scott Lagasse Jr. He's only been on the track for 5, now make it 6 laps, and he is the slowest. 48 of our 50 drivers have practice. We're 42 minutes in. They qualify tomorrow morning at 9:30. We'll have that for you here on Speed. Don't forget Cup qualifying coming up next.
I'll tell you, that Cup qualifying is always interesting here, but with the way these cars have been loose in practice and the way they fought these tire combinations, and this racetrack a lot of times gets even looser when you go in qualifying trim. That could be a very interesting qualifying session.
Want to make a little bit of bet on how many cars they wind up spinning out?
Whew. Well, I don't know. I'll take the over, whatever it is.
I hear you.
The 05 car driven by Willie Allen. See Scott Wimmer in the 7 drive underneath of him.
Because what the crew chief's going to tell you is we need a little bit more.
Yeah.
In qualifying, and you step over that line here at a place like Bristol trying to get a little bit more, especially on entry into the corner, can really get yourself in trouble.
I always told my drivers, remember, slow down to go fast.
I never had a crew chief that would tell me that.
I tell you that in a heartbeat, because I know if you drive off in that corner way too deep, I know what the
Because most of the crew chiefs normally will stand right down there when you go off on your qualifying lap, right entering turn 1.
And hold a flag out there,
hold a flag and drive to right here.
Yeah,
And then you turn around and look at him facing backwards, and it's too late.
Just saw Kenny Wallace. Did you know Kenny has completed over 7,000 laps here at Bristol in Nationwide Series competition?
He's the man.
With Hot Rod Grills as a sponsorship. Meanwhile, Colin Brown in the 16.
This seems very appropriate for Wallace to be something that says Hot Rod Grills.
Exactly.
Looks good, Colin. Be smooth.
So that's the kind of crew chief you want. It must be smooth.
What he's saying is don't wreck.
That's right.
In a nice way.
In a nice way.
Nice way. He says, you're looking good. Let's like what you're doing right now. Let's hold right there. Get a few laps in. Do not wreck this car.
In a nice way.
In a nice way.
Well, I got
See, it's not always the message. Sometimes it's the delivery.
delivery, exactly right.
43 laps for Colin Brown. He is 17th. His fastest lap, good enough for 17th. And Jeff, you brought up a good point. Danny O'Quinn, Greg Biffle, Andy Ponstein, who's 10th quickest right now, drivers who are not locked in by virtue of their points. So they are going to make more bonsai runs.
They are, and they're going to, they've got to. They're going to, suffer the consequences once they drop the green flag, providing they do get in. But, that's the price you pay for where they are right now in the points.
Brian Scott in his Toyota, 16th overall.
I feel like I just made it a little bit more uneasy on entry. I found myself turning down in the corner, getting on the brake and straightening the wheel for a second.
Said during the off time he worked hard on his own personal fitness.
Got to be in shape if you're going to drive these race cars.
Saw this car a little while ago in an incident with Andy Ponstein. 52, driven by Chris Lawson, Bob Dillner.
Down here with Jason Leffler, we're actually just talking about his race car in 28th quick, but you're done with practice?
Yeah, I can barely hear what you're saying, but yeah, it didn't start off real good, but it's good now. The ABF Freight Camry's running really good, so nice and consistent, and we'll just quit here, make a few changes, and then start again the next practice, so feels good.
Jason Leffler, like he said, he was not all too happy with his car early. A lot more happy right now.
And it is, I can't tell you how loud it is down there. For people at home, you can't even really have a conversation. It's more hand signals or write it down on a sticky note.
Exactly. I told somebody the other day, I said, what's it like going to Bristol? I said, I'll give you a really good example. Go get you a garbage can, a metal garbage can, take a stereo system and throw it in the bottom of it, stick your head in there and crank it wide open and listen to it for about 4 hours. I said, that's what it's down there, this echoing, rattling. I mean, everything just kind of like gets, how would you say, mind melded?
It's a lot like being in the booth with Jeff Hammond.
Can be.
Wait a minute, you get me confused with Darrell Walton.
Stay with us. Nationwide Series practice continues on the half mile at Bristol. Monday night on Speed, stop by the garage for NASCAR Race Hub. Get the latest news and hear from NASCAR's biggest names. Don't miss NASCAR Race Hub, presented by Hooters, Monday night at 7:30 Eastern, only on Speed. We've had 4 cautions in this NASCAR Nationwide Series practice for Joey Logano and Scott Riggs. Both spun, didn't hit anything. John West Townley and Johnny Chapman have made contact with the wall. On board with Kelly Byers in the 88. Speaking of Race Hub, he was in the hub the other night with Krista Vogt and myself. 2-time state wrestling champion in Wisconsin. He started as a freshman. He wrestled the 103-pound class.
Wow.
Well, he's coming to the right place. He wants to wrestle something, wrestle this racetrack.
I asked him what his pin move was. Double chicken wing.
Huh?
Double chicken wing. That's kind of like a half Nelson, I guess. Well, Hermie, take us around Bristol with Kelly Byers.
And you can see him, he's passing the 39 car right here, coming off of turn 2, going in the back straightaway. He'll get to the bottom of the racetrack here, get off the throttle a little bit early, set the car with the brake right here. You back in the throttle again. Just like most short tracks, you want to make your ground up from the middle of the corner back to the start finish line. That's where you need to be good to start making passes on your competition. And then you go do it all over again.
Yep, Kelly's going to run his 44th lap. His quickest lap, good enough for 9th, Wendy.
Kyle Busch is tight on the center exit. They've worked on the right front 3 different times. They've been in the garage area, and he told his crew chief, Jason Radcliffe, I need some more of that. As the rubber gets down and it gets greased up, the car won't stick. So they still continue to work on Kyle's car. Keep in mind, 4 years since Kyle Busch has won at Bristol Motor Speedway. It was the spring of 2006, and that is hard to believe, Bob.
Well, Brad Keselowski in the 22 machine is on pit road right now. They are still trying to dial in this race car despite him being second quick on the charts right now. He's still a little bit tight in the center. That car just won't cut. So what they did is they changed the front and rear springs on this car. They're trying to make another adjustment right here. As you can see them just go to work on this car as it just came down pit road after a run. Keselowski is out of the car right now. They were talking about the fact that this might be the final run on this practice session, and that looks like it would. Going back to the hauler right now will be Brad Keselowski and crew chief Paul Wolf, but they're fast but not exactly happy with this race car.
Well, Bob, Wendy was talking about Kyle Busch. He won both Sprint Cup Series races here 1 year ago. led 378 laps here in the spring. Keselowski into his team transporter. Take a look at Joe Nemechek. Nemechek 35th right now. 49 drivers, including Brad Teague, the most recent driver to make it out to practice.
You mean the veteran Brad Teague?
On board with Kevin Harvick. You can hear him get off the gas there, Hermie.
Yeah, he gets off, and he's got a lot of experience here and a great record here. But look, he's 40th fastest in practice, not where you normally expect to see Kevin Harvick in Nationwide Series practice.
Five times he's been to victory lane here in the Nationwide Series. What's up with Kevin Harvick, Wendy?
No grip, Steve, for Kevin Harvick. That's pretty much been his story all practice long, especially in the rear end. The back keeps sliding all over the place. They made a sway bar adjustment. Now, keep in mind, he spent most of his practice on the back stretch making some major adjustments. His crew chief, Ernie Cope, has been working on that car. Kevin Harvick and the team are trying to find more speed. He's already won in 2010. He comes into Bristol with high hopes.
You know, Hermie, we talk about Kevin being 40th when he first got out on the racetrack. All right, Danny O'Quinn has the quickest lap at a 15:74. Look down the speed chart, Derek Cope 25th at a 16:15. So barely 3/10 of a second separating 25 cars.
Oh, it's going to get tighter.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing, is a lot of these guys, like Kevin Harvick, they're trying to find the balance, really focusing more on race runs than they are on qualifying runs. When everything gets tightened up, Steve, we're probably going to have somewhere around a neighborhood of a half a second between first and probably 43rd.
Points leader Carl Edwards in the 60.
Steve, we haven't talked a lot about it, but when it comes time for qualifying, starting up front is going to be very important if you want to win this race here come Saturday afternoon.
We'll be back to Bristol after this here on Speed. Are you ready to discover NASCAR Nation's next great superstar? We're introducing Fast Track to Fame. Join hosts Michael Waltrip and Carissa Thompson as America's most unique performers cut loose each week. Compete for their chance to become a star. It's the talent competition so wild, it can only happen trackside. Catch an all-new episode of Fast Track to Fame this Monday on Speed, 8 Eastern. Fast Track here is the half-mile Bristol Motor Speedway. Looks like Drew Blickensderfer making some notes. Carl Edwards, number 60, his crew chief. Justin Allgaier spent some time top the leaderboard here in terms of timing and scoring. He is 6th right now. Hermie, I thought it was interesting last year, towards the end of the year, Justin Allgaier joined us for trackside, and he said the biggest lesson that he had to learn as a young driver in this series was patience. And I would think that would go hand in hand with this racetrack.
There's no question, but a lot of drivers that come to this level of racing, whether it be from late model stock car ranks or open wheel ranks, a lot of those races are 40, 50 lap races. You start the race, you got what you got to go right away, and if you're on, you're on, and if you're off, you don't have a chance to fix it. When in these races, you know, you've got 250 laps, and you've got 2 or 3 pit stops, and you're keeping an open mind and being positive with your team and your crew chief. When you start the race, if you're not exactly right, you've got a chance to fix it and still get a good finish. So, as the caution comes out, you hear the radio transmission. A little bit of debris on the racetrack, Jeff.
Yeah, just looking down there, I don't see anything right at the moment, but I'm sure that the NASCAR officials are on top of that. They don't want to see anybody running over something and cutting a tire down, possibly getting into the outside safer barriers.
Caution out for the 5th time. We'll take this opportunity to check in with Bob.
Down here on pit road, and we're looking at Trevor Bayne's race car, and he's in the top 5 right now. And here's a funny story actually about Trevor Bayne. They asked him, how was it? He says, well, I think we're in the ballpark right now. And the crew chief came back and he said, you know what, in the ballpark, are you kidding me? You're super fast on the racetrack. He says, you know what, I just couldn't think. The car was so good, I couldn't think of the word that I wanted to use to describe how good we are right now. So this camp in the number 99, very happy with this race car right now. They just made a left rear shock adjustment. He went back out there and performed pretty well, but he said, you know what, guys, I completely overdrove that. So I need another attempt on the racetrack to try to see if that adjustment was what we wanted the car to do. So that's what they're doing, going back out on the racetrack right now.
Bob, he refers to this track as his home track. He's from Knoxville, Tennessee. Another one of those 19-year-olds, Hermie.
They're everywhere.
They're taking over the sport.
Except in this booth.
You bring up a good point. Under caution for the 5th time. Stay with us here on Speed. One of the prettiest stops on the NASCAR circuit, Thunder Valley, Bristol, Tennessee. Great look at this picturesque racetrack and the surrounding area. Just a beautiful part of the country, and springtime is in the air, Hermie and Jeff.
Thunder Valley. Not only here for the NASCAR race, but big drag strip right over on the backside.
We're just back underway. We had a caution for debris, our 5th of the practice session. Let's go back to Bob Dillner.
Well, Steve, we are always smiling when we come to the Bristol Motor Speedway, but this guy is smiling for more than one reason. Obviously, he's in a race car for the first time since November, and you're in Danica Patrick's car. You are right now 12th quick. What more are you looking from your race car?
Well, I've had to knock a little bit of rust off, so I got to thank Tony Jr. for letting me do that, all of Junior Motorsports for let me have this opportunity to drive. It's been a while since I've been back in a car, but car's really good. We unloaded good. We're looking for a little bit of speed, but long run wise, I think we're going to be real good, and I'm looking forward to Saturday. It's been a while since I've been racing.
Really nice to see Scott Wimmer smiling again, the Wisconsin native. Wendy?
Kelly Byers trying to get everything out of this Nationwide car. He's top 10 in this practice session. He can't get this car any tighter. If he gets on the gas too quick, he can't control the rear. He needs to be tighter in the center. He's been too loose pretty much everywhere on this racetrack. He's also complaining that the pedal is a little bit soft, so they have checked the brake lines and no update on the brake lines as at this point Kelly Byers trying to get some more speed and comfort out of his race car.
Guys, I talked about him being a state wrestling champion twice in Wisconsin. He said he had offers from about 5 or 6 Division I schools to go wrestle, but he wanted to focus on racing.
He's got a good opportunity here in this car, too. I mean, a really good race team and good teammates to fall back on, and been really impressed with what he's been able to do in limited number of starts. I mean, it's been very, very difficult to come and run a limited schedule and be able to make the kind of improvements you want to make as a driver week after week, but he's got a stretch of races now here that's really his time to shine, and hopefully he'll be able to take advantage of it.
Yeah, they definitely got a very, very strong nationwide program over there at Junior Motorsports, and if he's going to get it done, he can definitely get it done with that group.
Parker Kligerman, another driver just out of high school, development driver for Penske, driving the 42 car in some races this year. Kevin Harvick, the 5-time winner here at Bristol in the Nationwide Series, looks on. You know, Hermie, Kelly Byers was saying that a race car driver, as we watch Brad Keselowski, a race car driver, all he or she wants is the opportunity to get in good equipment, and that's what Kelly feels like he has now.
Well, that's what you fight your whole career for, is to get that opportunity. So many people, worthy people, never get an opportunity to come to this level and have good equipment, and one of two things happens: either they take advantage of it, or they finally get in good equipment and they press too hard and they don't get the stuff done on the racetrack, or don't get good finishes, or tear up equipment. And it's hard to get over that first impression that you make. You can come back later on and maybe get another chance or whatever, but your first opportunity is going to be the impression you leave with everybody in this garage area, so it's very important.
Kelly said he got tired of wrestling at 103, so he moved up to 112.
Yeah, you can't starve your entire life.
112.
You're talking about getting in good equipment and making the most of it. Here's a young man who's gotten in some good equipment. He's made the most of it. Brad Keselowski, now driving for Roger Penske. He's one of the guys who came through Junior Motorsports and made a name for himself and made a statement that he could wheel one of these cars. And
won here.
You won here, and at the same time, he actually set the track record as far as a race concerned, as far as over the entire 300 laps, fastest laps of anybody ever run here during the race. But the key thing right now, he told me the other day that this number 22 car for Penske Racing, as far as nationwide is concerned, he's having more fun getting these guys, getting this program up and going like it needs to. And then also the fact that his teammate and him, Jason Allgaier in the 12, really get along really well. So they're having a lot of fun over racing these cars.
Well, speaking of the 12, Justin Allgaier, he and Mike Wallace had a close call seconds ago.
And Justin's been pretty fast, and Mike's had his hand full a couple of times. Ooh. I think he thought he was going to be able to get that bottom groove, and he didn't get it.
Yeah, I think he may have touched the apron just a little bit with the left front of that car trying to get under Mike Wallace. But he's in practice. He just lets off the accelerator and comes back and go back and try him again next time.
Bobby D.
Well, to say that that scared Justin Allgaier would be an understatement, but he's brought the number 12 machine back on pit road right now. He said the car is good on entry, but it snaps loose on exit. So the team is going to go to work on that. He said it's a common problem when I was talking to him earlier at Bristol Motor Speedway. And remember, he's only been here for a little over a year now, but his first race last year, well, he finished in the top 5. And I remember seeing the captain, Roger Penske, up on the spotters tower. Roger came up to me, he grabbed a hold of me, he goes, "How about that kid?" Roger is a big fan of Justin Allgaier. Wendy?
Bob, I haven't heard anyone describe the rubber on the racetrack until Kyle Busch gave very detailed instructions of what the rubber's doing out there. He said in the groove, the dark black patches that you see is just a lot of dust, a lot more dust than we're used to seeing. The tire temps have been awfully hot on his tires on the 18 car. He's also a little bit too free. He said, "I'm gonna wreck getting in." He said, "We wish we had something to help the center for Kyle Busch." Not completely happy and almost wrecking loose.
I think there's a lot of that going on.
Yeah. And the thing is, I think Wendy and Bob both can kind of like see what's going on down there. I noticed there's a lot of brake engineers, a lot of brake specialists here this weekend at Bristol. Normally we see them at Martinsville next week, but these teams are using a lot of brakes to sit these cars. And if you get the balance wrong, it can really upset entry as well as exit of the corner.
Jeff, you know, forever we've been talking about brakes being a huge factor at Martinsville, and we were talking about it here at Bristol. I read somewhere, I can't attribute it to anybody, but the comment was that we use $40,000 worth of brakes now on these cars.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's kind of like that's what it costs to play poker, you might say. When it comes to these race cars nowadays, they have not only the most latest, greatest technology in brake rotors and calipers, but even brake pads and master cylinders. It's a total package. You got to have the perfect setup so you can actually use these brakes to help make your car handle better.
Veteran Kevin LePage, I believe he won a race here, Hermie, in the Channel Lock car, did he not?
He sure did.
Where'd you finish that night?
I didn't win, so I don't remember.
It doesn't matter, right?
Doesn't matter.
Another look at Paul Menard.
He had stood on a pole up here one time, and that's an exhilarating experience here, leading the field to a green flag here. And one of my best memories in racing was the first time I came up here in the spring of '93. It's the weekend, the Alan Kulwicki accident and all those things. And it was snowing that morning. Got to get on the racetrack first time, and just how intimidating this racetrack was as a rookie coming to it for the first time, even more so than Daytona and other places, Atlanta, other places I went to for the first time. This place really got my attention first time on the racetrack, more so than anywhere else I went that year.
Bob, Greg Biffle's 7th overall right now in that Baker Curb Ford.
And you know what, Steve? He is a very happy camper right now. They actually just had to repair the valance on that machine because he bottomed out in the racetrack at one point and actually broke off the valance, but they have that repaired. He's making another run here. Greg says, you know, the car is just a tiny bit free going into the corner, but it's very consistent. And Hermie Sadler, as a driver, you know, a consistent race car around this racetrack is very important. That's what Greg Biffle is feeling right now.
Yeah, you want to be able to run the same speed lap after lap after lap and get it consistent, so we don't have these cars, you know, bottoming out, going up the racetrack loose one lap, tight the next. And Greg Biffle knows how to get his car to be consistent.
I mean, if there's another racetrack on the circuit that's any more, I think, rhythm sensitive, where would it be? I think when you're successful here, you get into a rhythm. I know working with Darrell Waltrip, again, he's the king of Bristol. When he was on, we'd get called out lap times, and I mean, it would be within 1/100th or 2/100ths of a second, lap after lap after lap. And whatever happened to the tires, that was the only drop-off or inconsistencies in his lap times would be whatever the give-up on the tires would be. It'd be better than anybody else over the long run. Dale Emmett would come down and he'd make fun of us sometimes. Just how fast have I got to run this today or tonight to be able to beat you guys? Because he knew once Darrell got consistent, he was going to be pretty tough to beat.
So he had 11 wins at Martinsville. How many wins here, including 7 in a row?
I don't know. That's a lot. 12, 14, something like
12,
that.
14.
You know.
At the Bristol Motor Speedway, NASCAR Nationwide Series rolls on. 1 hour, 13 minutes in. 40 car being driven by veteran Mike Bliss. Danny O'Quinn Jr. has posted the quickest lap, 15:74. We have 12 drivers under the 16-second category. Don't forget NASCAR Sprint Cup Series qualifying coming up next. Brendan Gaughan in the 62. There's Colin Brown right in front of him in the 16.
They've been putting on a pretty good little show here. Brendan Gaughan's been glued basically to the back bumper of the 16 car Colin Brown, who's run more laps than anybody else in his practice session. He's run 69 laps. Again, trying to get that rhythm down, and so far he's holding a pretty wheel. I mean, he's got that line kind of figured out. Now we see Brendan Gaughan go to the inside of him. This is not good. You should have let him go a little quicker and not run him all the way up the racetrack in the marbles, and now he's got to get back down and clean his tires off or come to pit road 1. I mean, that's not exactly.
Here, be careful.
Yep, be careful. Get stuff all over your tires. You come down here and spin out real easy.
And Brendan's using the old Darrell Waltrip diamond in the middle of the corner a little bit. He was getting that car down, letting it diamond up a little bit in the middle. Slide up a little bit in the middle of the corner, get that car pointed straight coming off the corner. Got a good run off the corner, got beside Colin Brown and made the pass.
But you know yourself,
Caution's out, caution's out.
You get in a position like that, they got a caution right now on the racetrack. I don't see anything amiss from our vantage point.
Probably worried about Colin Brown got up in all that debris on the top of the racetrack and maybe brought some back down into the groove. They're going to check it out real quick.
6th caution in this NASCAR Nationwide Series practice.
But yeah, what you were talking about, just what I was noticing is that Colin was kind of like running his own little deal, kind of hooking the bottom and trying to make a smooth arc. And yes, Brendan was pretty happy just to kind of like let it come up and kind of cut it back to try to get a hard run up off the corner.
You guys are exactly right. This caution coming out for debris. And let's go to Wendy.
Reed Sorensen, 25th on the practice chart. Are you getting the front end to work a little bit better? Sounded like that was your complaint.
Yeah, we just need to get the front end a little better in the center, and we kind of went the wrong direction and came back in the right direction. I think the last lap was our best lap of the day, so the Dollar General guys have been doing a real good job, and I think we're a little bit off of a top 5, but I think we're pretty close, and we got a good idea of what we need now.
We're hearing from Kyle Busch about the rubber on the racetrack. It's very dusty out there. What is your assessment?
It is dusty. I mean, you could see that from this morning and on the Cup cars, but I think the track is starting to take rubber, so hopefully by the time we race tomorrow, it should be good.
All right, good luck to Reed Sorensen, who has run nearly 60 laps in this nationwide practice.
Wendy, there's a good look at what sometimes is referred to as the marbles.
You get up there on it, it'll feel like you're riding on marbles.
I mean, I'm really anxious to see, especially tomorrow in practice, because Jeff, the last couple of times we've raced here, and I ran a truck race here last fall, we were using this whole racetrack in the middle of the corners. I mean, this new progressive banking, you can run the bottom, the middle, the top side. I'm anxious to see how the racetrack takes rubber and how this debris works, you know, in the middle of the corner, and also how it's going to be. You know, we talked about the safer barrier coming out on the straightaway. And it's not really a factor when you're running by yourself in qualifying trim, but I'm anxious to see how when the guys start running, you know, too wide in race conditions, how that's going to work out.
I don't think it's going to happen. I'll be honest with you, what I'm seeing, I think we're looking more back to the old style of Bristol. You can't get the grip. The rubber's not going to get in the racetrack like you'd like for it to. That's going to allow you to have that second groove like we've seen here in the past. This tire and the transitions, I think, are going to make it very, very difficult from the race side by side like we have seen here before.
NASCAR.
You know what that means?
Yes, sir. Bump and run, baby. Bump and run's coming back.
NASCAR green lights this NASCAR Nationwide Series practice. They have a second practice for about an hour later this afternoon following Sprint Cup Series qualifying, and then they qualify. The Nationwide teams do tomorrow morning at 9:30 here on Speed.
Yeah, Herman, you just can't wait till tomorrow morning, can you? Just like if you were one of them drivers had to jump up out of bed, take you a big old drink of water, throw some cold water in your face and run out here and qualify at Bristol. That's going to be exciting.
It's a fun place to qualify when your stuff is right, though. I get it. And you run 2 laps and you're out of breath. You got to go get a second win and go again. But I think this qualifying session coming up for Sprint Cup and the Nationwide Series qualifying session tomorrow morning are going to be very interesting to watch. I mean, guys are all over the racetrack fighting their race cars loose, tight, can't get the grip. And no grip in Bristol is not a good combination when you're trying to run a fast lap.
Let's go back to Bob.
Trevor Bayne, we reported on him just a little while ago. Very quick on the racetrack in that 99 car, but you thought the car was just in the ballpark? How come?
Yeah, I said, I think this thing's good, guys. We got it in the ballpark. My spotter, Brett Griffin, comes over the radio. He's like, dude, you're up the bat, man. You're good. So I think it's the best car we've had all season so far. Probably one of the best cars I've ever had at Bristol in the 5 times I've been here. And that's saying a lot, because, we've led races here. We finished 3rd here. And this thing's incredible, man. They did an awesome job. These guys, I don't even know what to say about them. It's crazy to see how good they're gelling together now. You mix around 1, 2, 3 guys, and it's crazy to see how that brings a whole team together. And that's happening right in front of our eyes. We're seeing this Diamond Waltrip race team come together and start to gel and run good. So hopefully we can stay good all day and be good in the race.
And Steve Burns, he got his first top 10 of the season in the last race at Vegas when the Nationwide Series ran there.
He had a great run, Bob, and you mentioned he has 5 starts. Hermie, that not all in Nationwide Series competition. 3 starts in the Hooters USAR Pro Cup Series.
Yeah, but you could tell by his interview he's very, very confident. And he's talking about Brett Griffin. Brett's spotted for Elliott Sadler for 10, 12 years now and has a lot of experience and knows what it looks like when a car is good on the racetrack. So he's got a lot of experience around him, on the pit box, on the spotter stand as well. And his eyes have really lit up about his race car. So it should be fun to watch him race tomorrow and see if he can get a victory here at Bristol. Always big to win at Bristol.
And the other thing is, though, guys, this is where sometimes it's great to see that kind of confidence, but don't get overconfident. Because all of a sudden you can go mess up a lap here, start way in the field and get yourself caught up in a lot of else's troubles if you don't qualify well.
Stay with us. NASCAR Nationwide Series rolls on here at Bristol. Speed's presentation of NASCAR Nationwide Practice from Bristol is brought to you by Hamburger Helper. 1 pound, 1 pan, 1 tasty meal. And by the Sponsifier. Visit ToyotaRacing.com and click on Design It, Enter it. One hour and 22 minutes into this NASCAR Nationwide Series practice, a longer practice for them. And they have a 1-hour practice after Cup qualifying. You'll see all of that here on Speed.
Jason Ratcliffe and Kyle Busch conferring. That's something right now that's very difficult to do. Both of them got their headsets off. They're basically hollering at one another so they can hear what's going on down on pit road.
Their lip reading is what they're doing. Derek Cope aboard the 73. Pretty quick, 17th overall in his Dodge Charger. And Derek does have to qualify on his time and speed.
Watching Casey Kane in the 38 car, he's kind of closing ground on the 62 of Brendan Gaughan. And Hermie, Brendan's car is just not getting off the corner with authority. You see here right now, Casey Kane gets to the inside of the 62. See if he can drop back in behind him, but it's almost like that late exit. He just can't quite get it to stay down like he needs to and get back to the throttle aggressively.
And all that is comfort and grip with the driver. And we've heard drivers talk all day long today about not having the grip they want. To run fast here at Bristol, in the middle of these corners, you got to tug that wheel a little bit to the left and be able to get that throttle to the floor right now. And if you're not able to do that, and somebody else can, it's really visible on the racetrack.
And Steve, listen and watch the rhythm right now of this 38 car. Rolls out of the throttle, gets right to the center, rolls right back into it. You don't see here a lot of, you know, like stabbing. It's just nice and smooth, nice and smooth. Floated in, pick that throttle up, floated right back up off the corner.
That 38 car looks really good.
It does. He looks very smooth.
Carrying a lot of speed through the middle of the corner.
There he just rolls right back into it, up off the corner, nice and straight, up against the outside wall. Floats it back down in the corner, nice and easy. Hits a teeny bit high.
And he's starting to use more of the racetrack as well the last couple laps, so maybe that's a good sign. He is somebody who really likes the middle and top side of the racetrack, so he wants that groove to get running up there.
Another look at Brian Scott, 15th overall. Mentioned Casey Kane. He got a win here back in 2007 in the fall race. Let's go back to Bob Dillner.
Colin Brown, 20th fastest right now, and I know your car is not exactly where you want, but what about getting run up to the wall a little bit earlier when the 62 dove underneath you?
Well, that was exciting. You know, that number 16 Conway Freight Ford Fusion car is really fast, I think, in race trim. You know, we're not super fast on the board, but we're really consistent, fast race trim-wise. And that 62 got under me. I was trying to get down to the pit road and got up in the marbles, and it's really slippery offline, so got to watch out for that for sure.
Well, Steve, what did Dick Trickle say about this place?
I don't remember, Bob. He said a lot of funny things.
Didn't he say something like this is like running fighter jets inside of a gymnasium or something like that?
The first person I heard say that was Benny Parsons.
Well, there you go.
Dick Trickle also said 1 hour sleep for every 100 miles of racing.
I used to love being behind Dick Trickle on the caution flag in a nationwide series race back in the day, because anytime he flicked his cigarette at the one he knew was one to go. You didn't have to worry about the caution lights.
Actually had a cigarette ladder built in the dashboard.
Yeah, he would flick it out. That's all right, boys, one to go.
Don't laugh. He drove for me on 2 different occasions, and whenever he walked in the shop, you had to get a cigarette lighter hooked into the car as far as electrical is concerned, because he would use it.
Bob and I did the ASA series back in 2000, a short track series, and the stories about Dick Trickle from, you know, he's a Midwestern guy. They said he would tell younger drivers, and pick any one, including Rusty Wallace, who came through that series, he would tell everybody his setup, and then he would go out and just kill them on the racetrack. He enjoyed beating them by telling them how to set their car up. He wouldn't lie to them. He told them the truth, just enjoyed beating them.
The most unusual thing about him, he had the ability, a lot like a lot of veteran crew chiefs, they could go and just look at a car and push down on the rear quarter panel or the front fender. He'd know whether or not you had the right spring in it. He would look at the rear alignment of the rear tire to the front tire, especially on the right side, and tell you whether or not you had it right. If it wasn't where he wanted it, he'd get you up underneath and make you adjust it just by eye. We'd never let you put a string or a tape measure on it.
Joey Logano with a 20 is 9th overall. And Bob, what did we figure out? Dick Trickle has over 1,000 wins in his career.
Yes, he does, all over the country too. And this guy actually is having a fun weekend running the World of Outlaws car and so forth. But how's this car here in the Nationwide Series, Casey?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Nationwide, World of Outlaws, and then Cup on Sunday. But so far, the Cup car was awesome today. The Great Clips Toyota there was really fast as well. So he got some good things, but these are the 2 cars I should be good at. That's the car tonight that worries me a little bit.
Car tonight, he'll be running, just a few miles down the road. You got to check him out in the World of Outlaws event tonight, a sprint car, triple duty for Casey Kane.
All right, thank you, Bob. Kyle Busch taking a look at the line the other drivers are running. Hermie, we've talked about this before. Race car drivers like options. Is this a place, you talked about the progressive banking, is this a place where you can run different grooves, or is there a preferred way around this place?
Well, last year, with, first time I got a chance to actually race on it with the new configuration, I loved it. You could run the bottom, the middle, the top. It was great racing from the driver's perspective. Now the fans want more, pushing and shoving and wrecking and all that, but from a driver's perspective, you could go where you wanted to. But prior to that, the old Bristol, like Jeff's talking about, you really had to be good right around the bottom. And when you wanted to pass somebody, if they didn't give you the bottom of the racetrack to pass, you had to put the fender to them and get them out of the groove. And it remains to be seen what we're going to see the rest of this weekend. I mean, until we get more time on the track under race conditions and guys try to start moving around, it's really hard to say what we're going to have.
On board with Justin Allgaier.
Well, you may get that second groove like you want, but you're going to have to get volunteers or pay them to go up there and clean it off, because there's a lot of them marbles right there just up outside of that bottom groove.
Justin Allgaier completed 59 laps of practice.
And Hermie, it feels just like ice when you get up out of the groove, a place like this, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, you're gone before you know it.
Back to Bristol right after this. Busy day and a fun day here on Speed. Sprint Cup qualifying coming up. Then you'll have a 1-hour NASCAR Nationwide final practice, NASCAR Live and Trackside. Don't forget, David Pearson, Kyle Busch, and Carl Edwards making a brief appearance. Let's go to Wendy.
Kyle Busch done with this practice session. Everybody's saying how slick the racetrack is. How would you describe it today?
It's definitely slick. I think the tire that Goodyear brought here is a little different than what we all expected and what we ran on here last year. I felt like last year's tire was really good, and unfortunately on the Cup side we're just not taking to it very well with our NNS Camry. But the Z-Line Camry's not bad. We got pretty good nationwide practice in. Jason and the guys did a nice job. We made some good changes, I felt like. So we should be one of the cars to contend with, hopefully, and we'll see if we can qualify like on the Cup side.
How difficult is it to communicate at this racetrack?
Say it again.
How difficult is it to communicate?
Well, when you have radios like your headsets, it's not bad, but I can't even hear myself talking right now. I just hope everything's coming out all right.
You sound great. Kyle Busch is happy with this practice session.
What'd you say earlier about hand signals?
What?
Okay.
But Kyle's right. You see the lips moving, but you can't hear them. Let's take a look at some of the incidents from this practice.
Scott Riggs.
Scott Riggs goes around in the 09. Fortunately, he did not hit anything. Then Joey Logano in the 20. He stays off the wall. Next couple of drivers not as lucky. John West Townley in the 21 backs it into the wall between turns 1 and 2. And then Johnny Chapman also backs his race car into the wall. We had a couple more cautions for debris, and we should say, boys, a lot more close calls.
A lot more close calls, and I don't think, from what we've seen, that we're done watching cars spin on this racetrack between today and tomorrow as far as, getting qualifying going, because a lot of guys, all the drivers know how important it is to qualify up front here. So you've got to get that good fast lap to get qualified up front. The problem is, as we talked about, you step over that line and make a mistake. You start, back in the mid-20s or 30th, it really can make for a long day.
Well, it depends, unless you're Kevin Harvick, who started 38th and won this race one time. But not everybody's quite as, I don't want to say talented, but maybe as lucky as Kevin was working his way up through there.
You got to be good and fortunate for that to happen.
You're exactly right. And we got 50 cars here in this field, so 7 of them are going to have to lay it on the line to make qualifying runs to get in this race tomorrow. So, like you've already pointed out, tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., it's going to be wild and woolly and fast.
That's the end of practice. All of a sudden it got quiet.
So that ain't so.
It's
Daniel Quinn, great run. He's top of the speed chart. Be interesting to see if he comes out next practice and is able to bag that up. And Kevin Harvick was bad all day outside the top 30. He ends up with a top 5 run.
I'm not surprised about that. When it comes time for showtime, he knows how to get the job done. But talking about coming out, I think you got to. When he gets through making these qualifying Cup runs, the racetrack's going to change again.
Well, for Hermie Sadler, Jeff Hammond, Wendy Venturini, and Bob Dillner, I'm Steve Burns. Thanks for joining us. On the other side of the break, John Roberts joins us, and then Sprint Cup qualifying. Keep it here on Speed.